Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and I'm here with the Canon 60D. Now this camera's pretty new to me. I've never owned a Canon digital SLR myself, but for those of you who have this Canon 60D and don't understand what these buttons mean, I am going to run through what each button does, what it means, and sometimes I may not know what it means. I've been reading the manual to try to figure this out. Like I said, I haven't owned one of these, but I want to give you the best information as possible to help you figure out how to use your camera. This is part one. In part two, I'm going to show you menu settings for how I would set this camera if I was using it. But really, read the manual. A lot of the answers are going to be in here. I'm going to go over pretty much the basics, but if you want to know more, the manual is going to have it, and just sitting and playing with the camera is really going to help you out. So for this video, part one, I want to go over what the dials mean, what the buttons mean, not so much, and tell you what the functions are, but not so much really show you how the menu changes and how that affects your image. So first things first, you have your on and off switch. Canon has put it on the back of this camera. Each Canon camera is slightly different. They're not all uniform, where you go from one to the next and they're about the same. So in the 60D, the on and off switch is right in the back. It says on and off. I'm sure you can figure that out. You switch it on to use it. Then, if you want to make sure that you can see your screen and see the pictures that you've taken or look at your menu system, you have to rotate the articulating screen and open it. That means the LCD is facing you so that you can hit the button and see the menu system so that you can then go ahead and make changes. If it was the other way around, you wouldn't be able to see what's going on. The articulating screen's a pretty cool thing for shooting videos, so my recommendation for using it is to really leave it just on the back like this, unless you get into the rare circumstances where you need to try and get a photo that is over your head or, much lower. I don't recommend that you sit here like in the commercials and start shooting pictures like this. First recommendation right there is the viewfinder, which is right here. You want to look through the viewfinder because that's how you're going to get the best pictures, in my mind, more so than shooting live view. But live view is an option that is there. Let's run through the dial up top. You've got your green mode. Now, before I tell you how to change the dial, the auto mode is green. It's the very basic settings. The camera's going to do all of the work. You don't have to do anything other than point, shoot, and get the picture. That's that. So now to change this dial, Canon has changed this a little bit. You have to press this center button and then rotate the dial to whichever mode you want it to be set to. Don't try to force the dial or you may break it and you're going to be out $200–300 for a repair. So don't forget to do that. So let's run around the dial into the manual settings. We go from auto to then the P mode, which is program. It's basically auto, but now you have the ability to change your menu settings, which you didn't have in auto. TV is shutter priority. That means that you set the shutter speed and the camera is going to set the aperture for you. Then we go to AV, which is aperture priority. Aperture priority is going to then, do they even call it AV, aperture priority? I don't know. I call it aperture priority because that's what I'm used to. You set the aperture, say 5.6, and the camera is going to automatically set the shutter speed for you. Then you've got manual. You set your shutter speed and your aperture. Then they've got the B mode. That's bulb mode. That means as long as your finger is pressed down on the shutter stays open, the shutter button, and when you release it, the shutter closes, giving you your picture. So that's for long exposures, but you literally have to be sitting there holding the button or plugged into the remote. Then they have the C mode. I still don't know what this C mode is. I looked in the book. I can't figure it out. So maybe one of you guys out there knows what this C mode on the dial is and can help me out. But then, I'm not going to talk about all of these because they're pretty basic and they're pictures. So you should know what the picture looks like and what it means. The flash with the box around it means in situations where you don't want the flash to pop up, like in auto, the flash keeps popping up. But when I go to this flash mode with the line through it, the flash is not popping up now. It's still auto, but the flash will not pop up. Then you have the CA mode. These are these custom setting modes that you can then tell the camera, do you want the background to blur more? Do you want the background to blur less? Do you want it to be sharper? Do you want it to shoot in continuous, monochrome? So there's a whole lot of settings here that we're going to go over in video number 2 to help you set that function. So that runs us around that dial. Oh, there's one more thing. You've got this picture of it looks like a video camera on a tripod. When you go to that mode, that turns on the video mode, which then blocks the viewfinder because the mirror flips up, then showing you a live view image, as you can see on the back of the screen here. So in order to start recording video in this mode, there is a button here on the back that it looks like the back of a camera. You press that to start recording video when you're in that video mode. Now let's talk about this button that's next to the viewfinder. When you press it in any other mode, it's going to turn on live view. In order to turn live view back off, you press that button again. But in live view, if you want to take a picture, you then hold the button down, you focus, you do whatever you need. The camera's telling me it needs a flash, you press the button, it takes the picture, and live view comes back on. Most of the time, you leave live view off. There's a trash can button on the left side of the camera. It looks just like a trash can. That's how you delete a file you do not want to use. How much time do we have? I don't know. Anyway, that's what you do with the trash can. That's how you delete pictures. Moving around the back, you've got a menu button that turns on the menu so that you can control your different settings that are in there. An info button, which when you're looking at the back of the camera will give you your virtual horizon that's built in. It will tell you what mode you're in. It will tell you all of your settings. So that is what the info button is going to do. It allows you to see everything that your camera is set to, and you do have the ability to make some changes when I figure out how to do that, which I can't figure out. Do I hit this button? Do I hit this button? Oh, there it is. Yep, I see how to do it. You can go through the screen with this up, up, down, down, left, right button. It's the multi-selector button. So you would hit up to move the arrows up. You'd go down your menus like this. Then on the outside of that button, well, the inside of that button, you have a set button. You press the set button. That's like your OK button. That means you're setting that function in the camera. That means it's locking it in. Below that, you have an unlock lock button because you can no longer lock the spin dial on this camera with just a flick of a switch like you did on the 50D and 40D. You have the Q mode, which brings up the screen. It's a quick change mode, so you can quickly change the settings on the back of the camera. And you have your play button, which is the sideways triangle. That's how you play back your different files and pictures. In order to cycle through these pictures, you rotate this dial on the back of the camera, and that will cycle through all of the pictures on the camera. You have also an AF on button on the back, which then, when you press that, that's another way of focusing the camera instead of holding down the shutter speed halfway. We haven't talked about the shutter button yet. So this is the shutter button. You press this, you hear a beep in this case because that's what I have it set to. This is going to autofocus. When you fully press the button, it's going to take a picture when you do that. So that's controlling your autofocus and taking the image. AF on button, like I said, will be another way to focus and then shoot. That's a Canon thing. Nikon does offer that. I personally don't use that mode. You have two more buttons on the back left-hand side. You've got one that controls autofocus. That's the checkerboard. So by pressing that button, that puts it into the autofocus mode. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Never mind. I'm still figuring that one out. The autofocus mode one is the one that has a square with a bunch of dots in it. You would press that, and that's going to activate the autofocus points, and it's going to select them themselves. The plus and minus, when you're reviewing images, you can zoom in on photos or zoom out on photos. That is what it is. As we move to the left of the camera, you have a speaker on the side, right below where your strap goes. Then you have inputs. For this camera, you can input a microphone, like the one I'm wearing, so you can have external mics. You have an HDMI. You also have a VGA out. It comes with the cable so that you can plug this into the TV, and then it has a remote port where you plug the remote in and then you can shoot wired with a remote. On the front of the camera, you have these 4 little holes. The 4 little holes are, that's your microphone. Below that is a lightning bolt. When you press the lightning bolt, your flash is going to pop up when you're not in the no flash mode. Did I forget anything on the back of the camera? Not really. On the side of the camera, on the right-hand side, you've got a door to open your SD card, or where your SD card goes in. Literally press, pull it this way, it opens the door, your card goes in only one way. Look at the picture on the back. More buttons on the front. You release your lens by pressing this, turning the lens towards you. The lens comes off, line up the white dot to the red dot, turn it till it clicks, locks in. You've just taken your lens off and put it back on. Moving around to the right side, you've got a depth of field preview button, so you can preview your depth of field. It's not a function that I personally ever use. Moving to the top, you've got your commander dial that changes your aperture when you're in manual mode. And also, this is going to control some other features that I'm going to show you in video number 2. But you have your AF button. You press that once. You can see that when you rotate either the back dial or the top dial, it is changing between one shot, AI focus, and AI servo. That's the AF button. Next to that is the drive button. This is how you determine whether you're shooting in high speed, continuous frames, or 5 point however many frames a second it shoots, or you can shoot at 3 point some frames a second, or are you just going to shoot single frames? When in drive, also you have control of your timer settings. Next to that is your ISO. That is the button you press when you want to set your ISO to whatever you want to set it to. And then you have your metering modes between evaluative metering, your spot metering, and a few other metering modes that they offer. Then you have something that looks like a light bulb. It gives you a nice orangey color, lights up your screen. And that really runs us through most of the simple things in this camera. Like I said, I'm still learning it. Hopefully this helps you out to explain what some of the buttons do, but really pick up this manual as much as possible because it is going to help you out. And really, I'm going to continue to read it so I know all of the functions, so I can better learn it myself, so I can pass the information along to you. Other than that, battery doors on the bottom. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can only put the battery in one way. So that's basically a rundown of all the buttons on the Canon 60D. I think I learned something here. I hope you guys learned something. Let's see. Number 2 is coming up soon. Click this box to go right to the second video, which will explain how to set your menu and how I would set my menu system. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.